In 1324, a man walked across the Sahara Desert with 60,000 people behind him. He wasn't fleeing anything. He wasn't conquering anyone. He was going on a pilgrimage. And everywhere he stopped, he spent so much gold that he crashed the economies of entire countries. Egypt took 12 years to recover. 12 years from one man passing through. His name was Mansa Musa, and his kingdom, the Songhai Empire, was the wealthiest civilization on Earth. You probably weren't taught that in school. This is Forgotten Kingdoms, and this is their story. Sundiata was not born a conqueror. The story begins with a boy who could not walk, a prince mocked in his own father's court. Oral tradition says Sundiata Keita crawled through childhood, dragging a useless leg behind him. In a world where strength meant survival, he was dismissed as weak, unfit for a throne. But destiny does not always pick the obvious candidate. After his father's death, Sundiata's half-brother, Sumaoro Kante, seized the kingdom. Sundiata and his mother were forced into exile, vanishing into the wild reaches of Mema. 12 years passed. The boy who once crawled became a man who built alliances. In exile, Sundiata did what no Mandinka king had done before. He united rival clans, forging bonds with the Sarakole, the Bambara, and the Kong. Oral genealogies remember the names of these mothers' clans, families who pledged their sons to Sundiata's cause. This was not just a rebellion. It was a coalition of the wronged, the ambitious, and the overlooked. Then came the call to arms. In 1235, at Kirina, Sundiata's forces, an army drawn from at least 6 chiefdoms, faced Sumaoro's sorcerer warriors. The griots say the drums thundered across the plain, iron clashed with iron, and the tide of West African history turned. Archaeologists still find traces of iron working at Kirina, silent witnesses to the scale of the battle. Sundiata's victory was not just personal, it was the birth of an empire. The crippled child became the Lion King, and the Mandinka clans, once scattered, now marched behind a single banner. Mali's legitimacy began with a story of exile, unity, and a battle that changed everything. Gold and salt. These were not just commodities, they were the engine that powered Mali's rise from a patchwork of clans to the richest empire of its age. In the south, the Bambouk and Boer goldfields churned out staggering amounts of metal. At their peak, these mines produced close to 20 tons of gold a year. That's about a third of all the gold circulating in the Mediterranean world, more than any European kingdom could dream of. But gold alone doesn't build an empire. North across the Sahara, the Tagaza salt mines were just as vital. Salt was life, currency, food preservative, and a mark of wealth. Mali's rulers seized the wells and imposed order. Every ton of salt that left Tagaza paid a 10% tax to the Mansa's officials. Gold was taxed too, 5% at the pit head, with state-appointed Wangara merchants and tax collectors weighing and recording every nugget. Nothing moved without a cut for the crown. Caravans snaked across the desert, linking the goldfields of the south to the salt pans of the north. The empire's fiscal system was a masterpiece of control. Taxes on extraction, customs duties at the borders, tribute from vassals, and bribes for safe passage through Tuareg lands. The records show a bureaucracy that could rival any in medieval Europe. This is how Mali bankrolled armies, cities, and soon the world's most extravagant pilgrimage. The empire's wealth wasn't just legend, it was measured, counted, and taxed, year after year, ton after ton. And all of it flowed into the royal treasury, waiting for a ruler bold enough to spend it on a scale the world had never seen. Cairo had never seen anything like it. In 1324, the city woke to the thunder of drums and the shimmering glare of gold. Mansa Musa, ruler of Mali, arrived at the head of a procession so vast it seemed to swallow the horizon. Contemporary chronicles gasp at the numbers: 60,000 people, 12,000 servants, 80 camels, each one loaded with gold. It sounds impossible. But eyewitnesses like Al-Umari, writing from Cairo just years later, swore that the Sultan's caravan stretched farther than the eye could see. Everywhere Musa went, he gave. Gold coins to the poor, gold dust to merchants, gifts to scholars, officials, and the Sultan himself. The generosity was relentless. Cairo's markets flooded with gold overnight. Prices crashed. The value of gold fell so hard that Egypt's economy staggered for 12 years. That is not a legend. It is in the records. The shockwaves did not stop at the Nile. Word of the spectacle swept north, echoing through the ports of the Mediterranean. European maps began to show a king in West Africa, sitting on a throne of gold. Traders, poets, and kings asked, who was this Musa, and how could an African empire command such wealth? For a moment, the world's attention snapped south, not to Rome, not to Baghdad, but to Mali. And behind it all, a single truth. The riches of this empire were no rumor. They were real, and their impact would ripple for generations. Gold could buy armies. It could topple economies. But in Mali, wealth did something rarer. It built a city of mines. When Mansa Musa returned from his legendary Hajj, he didn't just bring stories and souvenirs. He brought vision. Musa poured his fortune into the earth of Timbuktu, transforming a trading outpost into a beacon of learning and faith. In 1327, the Jenne Mosque rose from the floodplain, its walls molded from mud and hope, its silhouette unlike anything in Christendom or the Arab world. Musa hired Isa ibn Yusuf, an architect from Andalusia, to design it. The mosque's arches and towers still stand, a testament to what gold can build when it's spent on dreams, not just display. But the true marvel was not in bricks or domes. It was in parchment and ink. Musa's investments turned Timbuktu into the intellectual nerve center of Africa. The University of Sankore, founded around 1346, drew scholars from as far as Cairo and Fez. Imagine it, a medieval campus with up to 25,000 students, more than most European cities could claim. Here, anonymous scholars copied manuscripts by the thousands. Law, astronomy, poetry, medicine, every subject found a home in these libraries. Some of these manuscripts survive, their pages filled with diagrams of the stars, debates on justice, and prayers in elegant Arabic script. In a world where most rulers measured power in gold, Musa measured his legacy in minds awakened. You probably weren't taught that in school. But here, in the heart of Mali, knowledge became the empire's most enduring treasure. After the Golden Age, cracks began to show. Mansa Musa's death in 1337 set off a chain reaction that no one could stop. The throne changed hands again and again. Magha, Suleimani, and Musa II each took power, and each reign was shorter and weaker than the last. Royal blood spilled in the struggle for power. Rival branches of the Keita family fought for the crown, turning the imperial court into a battlefield. Out on the trade routes, the world noticed. Caravans grew cautious. Merchants wrote home about roads blocked by feuding princes. Gold shipments delayed for months. The empire's grip on its borders loosened. In the north, Tuareg clans watched and waited. By the 1380s, they made their move, seizing Takaza, the salt mine that once bankrolled Mali's armies. Suddenly, caravans paid tribute to desert raiders instead of the Mansa's taxmen. Trade dried up. The empire's lifeblood began to drain away. Without unity, Mali's riches became a prize for anyone bold enough to take them. Sunni Ali did not wait for Mali to recover. In 1468, his Songhai army swept into Timbuktu. The city's walls, once symbols of Mali's strength, fell in days. Scholars, merchants, and gold traders watched as Songhai banners replaced the old emblems of the Mansa. 5 years later, Jenne, another jewel of the Niger, faced the same fate. In 1473, Songhai's cavalry thundered across the floodplain, breaking the last pockets of resistance. Two cities, the heart of Mali's trade and learning, were lost in just 5 years. The empire that once dazzled the world with its gold and knowledge was now a shadow. Within 2 generations, Mali's supremacy was gone. The Songhai Empire, led by Sunni Ali's relentless campaigns, claimed the throne of West Africa. The age of Mali had ended, not with a single blow, but with a series of conquests that redrew the map forever. Today, Mali's legacy is buried beneath dust and silence. But its gold once moved empires, and Timbuktu's scholars shaped worlds we barely acknowledge. History isn't just what we remember, it's what we choose to forget. How many more empires, how many more geniuses are still missing from our story?